the DALO Urban Podcast.
Before I go any further, man, I'm glad we was able to catch up and finally do this podcast. I know it's been years and years, man. I've been trying to get at you and have you come on and give some kind of camera on you or something, man, so you can share some of your theories when it comes to different things, when it comes to the Bible and the Christian church and different things that you might believe or you might think. And before I go any further, I want to say, where were you born, and give us a little bit of background of you.
July 1964.
Just talking to Mike just a little bit.
I was born in Marion, Indiana, to Gladys. Well, now SHERON. At that time, Allen, and my father was a gentleman by the name of Edgar Allen.
Okay.
They divorced when I was, I think, 2.5, 3 years old. Well, no, that would have been 3 years old because Lonnie, he was born. And I came up in the Baptist church, St. Paul Baptist, same church that your father used to go to. I also went to, what's the name? The church where JD was. I forget the name of that church, but that's where your father came up as a child with my mother and all the rest of the brothers.
Really?
And then they started going to St. Paul Baptist. Back in those days, that was in the 70s, and St. Paul Baptist, they were cutting records. They were like the second rated choir in the state of Indiana.
Really?
That's when up here, you know, there was the Hawkins brothers and everybody else. They were doing their things, but we was also, you know, we had some heat down there in Little Mayberry, Little Marion, Indiana. And so was basically born in the church before I was knee high to a grasshopper. I cannot ever remember in not believing in God. Okay. Just as you know, your uncle was one of 14 siblings, and coming up, did you know that Uncle Eddie, he's only 4 years older than I am.
Wow. Yeah, we had.
and so I came up into that, and I would have part of the theological debates that they would have. During the times in the 70s when I was coming up, as you know, Michigan and Detroit, Chicago, there was a movement in the black area, and then that's when Farrakhan was prominent. And some of our uncles, like Uncle Artie, even the younger uncles, but especially Uncle Artie, he taught me how to say Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam, and was sharing with me Islam. And so I was in that era as a 3 and 4 year old child, and I'm trying to figure out what God is, who God is, what is Islam, who is Allah, who is the Jesus of the Bible, what's going on, and then all that sort of stuff. But
Okay. We gonna get in, man. We gonna get into that.
Okay.
I know you said you came up in Marion, Indiana, and I just want to ask you, how was it coming up in Marion, Indiana? Because I know Marion, Indiana was a very racial type of place. I know it was a lot of lynching that went on in Marion, Indiana, like back in the days. And I just want to know, how was it coming up in Marion, Indiana from that aspect of it?
Well, from that aspect of it, when I was there, I was aware, just like you're now aware of the racial tensions that's here in the United States. I can remember when I was 1973, we had this place, it was called Custer's Lumberyard. It burned down. We had from Detroit, the Black Panthers who tried to come in. I can remember during that time, there was a whole summer where we couldn't go outside because they was literally shooting Negroes there in Marion, Indiana. I must have been about 7, 8 years old when that stuff was going on.
Right.
And so race in Indiana was always real. Even with coming up, I remember Mom and Dad, they raised us. They said, look, if police are around, or the police don't even have to be around, if you see somebody doing wrong and you don't leave the area, you're going to jail. Right. And they said, not because you done something wrong, but because you didn't listen to me as your parents telling you don't hang out with people that don't do that. Right. And they said you deserve to go to jail because you didn't listen to me.
Right.
So when some people are doing some stuff contrary to how we raised you, don't even be around the area, because when the police come, whether you done something or not, you going to jail.
The DALO Urban Podcast.